Tier 1, the enforcer, Jaap Stam. Picture a nightclub bouncer who accidentally wandered onto a football pitch and decided to stay. That's Jaap Stam. Shaved head, massive frame, a stare that could make strikers reconsider their career choices. This wasn't a man who played football, this was a man who enforced it. Stam didn't do the elegant Maldini glides or Barisi's perfect positioning. His style was blunt force trauma. Strikers didn't just lose the ball against him, they got launched into next week. Try dribbling past Stam in the late 90s Premier League and you'd wake up the next morning with bruises in places you didn't know existed. When Sir Alex Ferguson signed him from PSV in 1998, Manchester United's defence transformed overnight. In his very first season, Stam anchored the backline during United's treble-winning campaign, Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League. That's elite defending, pure intimidation. But here's the wild part. Ferguson sold him to Lazio in 2001, thinking he was past his peak. Stam wasn't finished, not even close. He went to Italy and dominated Serie A with Lazio, then Milan, then Ajax. Years later, Ferguson admitted letting Stam go was one of his biggest mistakes as a manager. That tells you everything. Stam was the foundation, the kind of defender who made football feel like hand-to-hand combat. He wasn't dirty in the Pepe or Ramos sense. He didn't hunt red cards or fly into two-footers for fun, but make no mistake, this was physical defending in its purest, most terrifying form. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 99% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Tier 2, the mind games master, Marco Materazzi, a professional agent of chaos. Materazzi could turn a World Cup final into his personal theatre of psychological warfare. If Stam was about physical intimidation, Materazzi was about getting inside your head and detonating it from within. The most infamous moment? The 2006 World Cup final, France versus Italy. Extra time, the whole world watching. Materazzi whispers something so vile into Zinedine Zidane's ear that the French captain, in his final ever game, loses his mind completely. Headbutt, red card, game over, Italy won the World Cup. Materazzi walked away as both a champion and one of football's biggest villains. That was weaponized provocation at the highest level. But don't think Materazzi was just talk. At 6 feet 4 inches, he used his frame to bully strikers into submission. His tackles weren't just challenges, they were warnings. When he went in, there was no guarantee both the ball and the player were coming out intact. During his Inter Milan days, his duels with English strikers in the Champions League were basically street fights. Alan Shearer once called him a thug. Plenty of others felt the same. And yet, Materazzi had another side, goal scoring. For a centre-back, he found the net an impressive number of times. It made him even more infuriating. He could crush you defensively, wind you up mentally, then pop up and score the winner just to rub salt in the wound. He was the evolution from Stam, not only willing to hurt you physically, but to break you mentally and humiliate you on the scoreboard. Tier 3, the red card collector, Paulo Montero, the Uruguayan who treated red cards like participation trophies. Montero holds the record for most red cards in Serie A history, 16 dismissals in 266 matches. That's not bad luck, that's a lifestyle choice. He spent more than a decade at Juventus during their golden era, winning Serie A titles and reaching Champions League finals. But what he's really remembered for, his relationship with referees, specifically the color red. Week after week, Montero would dive into wild challenges, cynical fouls, and off-the-ball scuffles that left officials no choice but to send him packing. And the craziest part? It became part of his identity. Fans expected at least one Montero red card every season like clockwork. It was basically tradition. But don't confuse recklessness with uselessness. Montero was actually a vital piece of Marcello Lippi's Juventus machine. In the late 90s and early 2000s, he partnered with legends like Ciro Ferrara and Lilian Thuram, helping Juve dominate Italy and battle Europe's best. He wasn't elegant, he wasn't composed, but he was effective. If you were a striker facing Juventus, you knew Montero would be breathing down your neck, ready to hack you down the second you took a heavy touch. Off the ball, even nastier. Elbows, shirt pulls, kicks from behind. His arsenal of tricks was endless. In 2000, he received a 20-day ban for punching Inter's Gigi Di Biagio in the face. While the referee wasn't looking, that's commitment to the dark arts. Overall career, 21 red cards, 21. Montero carried that same warrior aggression onto Uruguay's national team, representing them in World Cups and Copa Americas. Uruguayans loved him for his grit and sacrifice. Opponents dreaded him because he never backed down. He's the perfect embodiment of Tier 3, the red card merchant, the chaos bringer, the defender who treated football like warfare. Tier 4, the Butcher, Andoni Goikoetxea. They called him the Butcher of Bilbao, and they weren't joking. This man built his entire reputation on brutality. Forwards who crossed his path didn't just lose the ball, they risked their careers. The most infamous moment came in September 1983. Barcelona's Diego Maradona, at the time the most talented player on earth, tried to weave through Athletic Bilbao's defense. Goikoetxea came crashing in with a tackle so vicious it broke Maradona's left ankle and tore ligaments in his leg. The Argentine genius was sidelined for months. The world feared his career might be over, but it wasn't a one-off. A year later, Goikoetxea struck again, leaving Bernd Schuster, another Barcelona star, badly injured after another brutal challenge. By this point, his reputation as a serial destroyer of talent was sealed. And if you think that was just heat of the moment stuff, think again. Goikoetxea proudly declared, "Football is not for cowards." That summed him up perfectly. He wasn't about elegance or tactics. His mission was simple: stop the other team's best player by any means necessary, even if that meant carrying them off on a stretcher. Athletic Bilbao fans adored him for his warrior mentality. Opponents hated him. Neutral fans feared what he might do next, but nobody ignored him. When you look back at 1980s Spanish football, Goikoetxea's shadow looms large, a man who blurred the line between defender and executioner. Tier 5, the Godfather. Claudio Gentile. Forget Maldini's elegance or Baresi's intelligence. Gentile didn't even pretend to play beautiful football. His style was about one thing: stopping the opponent by whatever means necessary. The most legendary example came at the 1982 World Cup in Spain. Italy faced Diego Maradona's Argentina, and Gentile was handed the job of marking the young genius. Marking is a polite word. What Gentile did was closer to assault. Over 90 minutes, he fouled Maradona 23 times. Not 3, not 10. 23. Maradona barely got a chance to breathe, let alone dribble. Italy won 2-1, and Gentile walked off the pitch with the smirk of a man who'd just committed daylight robbery. But he wasn't finished. In the very next round, Italy faced Brazil, one of the most talented attacking sides in history. Gentile was assigned to Zico, another magician, and once again, he kicked, grabbed, and hacked his way through the match. Brazil complained. Referees shrugged. Italy knocked them out on their way to winning the World Cup. Gentile was literally suffocating opponents, and he was completely unapologetic about it. Italians adored him. He was the classic Catenaccio warrior, disciplined, brutal, and loyal to the team. He earned 71 caps for Italy, lifted the World Cup in '82, and spent most of his club career locking things down at Juventus. But around the world, Gentile was feared and despised. Strikers dreaded lining up against him because they knew it would mean 90 minutes of harassment, bruises, and zero freedom. He's tier 5 because he was the godfather of this style, the blueprint for every dirty defender who came after. Tier 6, the modern villain, Sergio Ramos. When it comes to modern dirty defending, nobody wears the crown like Sergio Ramos. The Spanish centre-back built a career walking the fine line between heroic and villainous, often stepping well over it. Elegant in one moment, reckless the next. Ramos is the definition of a defender who makes fans cheer and opponents rage. Let's start with the numbers. Ramos collected more red cards than any other player in La Liga history, 20 dismissals. Across his career, he's been sent off more than 25 times for club and country. That's not bad luck, that's a resume. To Ramos, a dangerous tackle or tactical foul was a tool. He knew exactly when to take one for the team, even if it meant leaving early. Then there are the infamous incidents. The 2018 Champions League final stands out above all. Liverpool's Mohamed Salah was in the form of his life. Just 30 minutes into the match, Ramos tangled with him, locking his arm in a challenge that ended with Salah dislocating his shoulder. Liverpool fans will swear it was intentional. Ramos walked away with a winner's medal as Real Madrid lifted their 13th European Cup. That's efficiency. Remove the danger man, win the prize. But unlike other dirty defenders, Ramos wasn't just about fouls. He could change a game at the other end too. Time and again, he popped up with clutch goals, headers in finals, injury time equalizers, moments that made him a hero in Madrid. His 93rd minute goal in the 2014 Champions League final is legendary. That duality made him even more frustrating for rivals. Not only could he foul your striker into oblivion, he might score the winner against you too. With Spain, Ramos was just as ruthless. He captained the national team during their golden era, winning 2 Euros and a World Cup. Alongside Puyol and later Piqué, he formed one of the most feared backlines in international history. That's why Ramos is tier 6. He wasn't reckless like Montero or purely destructive like Goikoetxea. He was cold, calculated, and trophy-driven, a dirty defender who played the long game. If breaking the rules meant winning, he'd do it without hesitation. And the scariest part, history shows it usually worked. Tier 7, Peak Chaos, Pepe. This is the guy who turned dirty play into an art form. For 2 decades, Pepe has been the face of chaos, violence, and every dark art defenders can get away with. The most infamous moment, 2009, Real Madrid versus Getafe. In a single meltdown, Pepe fouled an opponent in the box, then snapped. He kicked Javier Casquero twice while he was on the ground, shoved another Getafe player in the face, and had to be dragged off the pitch by teammates. The punishment? A 10-match ban, one of the longest in La Liga history. For most players, that would be career-defining shame. For Pepe, it was just another chapter. His resume doesn't stop there. He was notorious for elbows, stomps, and off-the-ball kicks. He'd roll around theatrically if touched, only to pop up seconds later and fly into a reckless challenge. He'd scream in referees' faces, rile up opponents, and smile as the crowd booed him. Rival fans hated him with a passion, but teammates loved him because behind the chaos, Pepe was a warrior who'd put his body on the line every single match. And here's the twist, he was brilliant too. Alongside Sergio Ramos, he anchored Real Madrid's defense during their Champions League three-peat, shutting down Europe's best strikers. With Portugal, he won Euro 2016, putting in a man-of-the-match performance in the final against France. He lived permanently on the edge. That unpredictability made him terrifying. Strikers never knew if they were facing calm, composed Pepe, or the version who'd kick you while you were already on the ground. He's the final boss, the face of dirty defending, the man who proved that chaos, when harnessed correctly, can win trophies. Love him or hate him, football without Pepe's madness just wouldn't feel the same. The verdict. From Stam's intimidation to Pepe's controlled insanity, these defenders redefined what it means to stop an attacker. Were they dirty? Absolutely. Were they effective? The trophy cabinets don't lie. Modern football has gotten softer. VAR catches everything. Referees protect attacking players more than ever. The days of Gentile fouling Maradona 23 times without a red card are long gone. But that makes you wonder, who will be the heir to this throne? Who's the next defender willing to walk the line between genius and madness? Comment below with your pick, because football needs its villains just as much as it needs its heroes.